Of course, also there is always the option of trying to sue, let's say, the user in his or her national court, which might be a little bit difficult for financial reasons also. These are all kind of difficulties. However, the Nagoya Protocol, again, as I tried to explain, provides or includes an obligation for user countries, or an obligation for countries to take user measures, to put it like that, because there's no provider user country in general. So to take user measures, which means that they have to take legal, policy or administrative measures, legislation or whatever, in order to address those cases where to prohibit, for example, the utilization of generic resources which were accessed in violation of the provider country's ABS legislation and regulatory requirements. There is no yet, final solution for this issue. So I'm afraid I cannot give you a clear answer or in that regard regarding the question of clarifying the scope. So the way I understood you is that you're saying that the issue of ownership of generic resources is quite clear in your country, so it doesn't have to be addressed anymore. That was basically what you were saying. However, what I tried also to show in my presentation is that the issue of ownership, property rights, is one important, very important issue. But there are also other aspects of access, granting access, which also need to be addressed and dealt with in domestic ABS measures. Now, I don't know the Pakistani legislation, and what probably needs to be done is to check also whether the legislation is in line with the international access standards which are listed in the Nagoya Protocol. Is the process for getting an access permit not clear enough? Is it contradictory, which might be the case in some countries? Is all these issues like granting a written or giving a written permit, which also states the reasons for denying access, for example, all these issues. Maybe, as I said, I don't know the legislation currently in place, but maybe some of these standards are not yet, or these criteria are not yet fulfilled, and it would make sense to address these issues now after the Nagoya Protocol was adopted in view of its ratification. So probably, I guess there is still something to be done in your case.
My name is Dr. Saifullah Khan. I am Associate Professor at Karachi University. I have a basic question. What is the unit? Is it a unit of knowledge, or a product, or a plant variety, or a gene to which someone has to access a language? Or we have a right of it. Although people are sequencing gene now and they're moving gene, does it cover in this particular?
Yeah, well, not sure if I'm getting the answer now right. But if you go back to the Nagoya Protocol and you look at the provisions, with regard to referring now to the access or to the benefit sharing aspect or to both. Okay. What the Nagoya Protocol does is it refers to the utilization of generic resource, and if you read Article 2 of the protocol, which includes just a handful of definitions, it defines the term utilization. So,
my question is about genetic resource. Yes. What does it mean?
Maybe I can help out. Because of exactly this question, what is a genetic resource? The Nagoya Protocol doesn't define a genetic resource, because all genetic resources are contained in biological resources. So the Nagoya Protocol tries to overcome this 20 years discussions under the CBD. What is it about? Nagoya Protocol talks very clearly about doing research and development. So sequencing genome would be research and development. So that would clearly fall under the Nagoya Protocol if you access the genetic resource which we are sequencing from another country. If it's from your own country, that would depend on your national legislation, whether the national legislation would require your university to get an access permit if you collect genetic resources from a neighboring province or from the backyard of the university, whether you would need an access permit for that. So it would depend on the national legislation.
Yeah, I just would like to read out loud, the definition of utilization in the Nagoya Protocol. It says, utilization of genetic resources means to conduct research and development on the genetic or biochemical composition of genetic resources, including through the application of biotechnology as defined in Article 2 of the Convention. And biotechnology is defined as any technological application that uses biological systems, living organisms, or derivatives thereof to make or modify products or processes for specific use. So I think this research and development aspect is important to keep in mind. And it is also important to keep in mind that it is the development on the genetic and or biochemical composition. However, it is, as Andreas said, this approach of referring to an activity now, utilization, research and development in a specific way, try to overcome this, a decade-long or even longer discussion on what is a genetic resource. And I think that is in the end of the day, the solution. Because as we said this morning, genetic resources included in this wood. However, this was not used to do research and development. It was clearly used to have doors in this beautiful room, and walls and so on and so forth. So this is not an ABS case. However, if you go and now take a piece of that wood, it's not from this country, let's say, and you analyze the biochemical compounds and you do research and development, then you would fall under the scope of the Nagoya Protocol, since of course this wood was imported, let's say, without a permit and mutually returned because it was used as a commodity. You would now need to go back. That was the consecutive. What was the term again? Subsequent application and commercialization. You need to go back to the original country, to the country of origin, and ask for a new permit, or ask for a permit which covers your utilization, and start negotiating mutually agreed terms. That's it. That's the trigger. The utilization is the trigger. There's a question.
In your last sentence, you almost commented on what I wanted to ask, just for clarification purposes. There is a risk of understating the value of the resource in its final state after the research work has occurred. And this is normally the state where the original country supplying or the communities that are supposed to benefit are actually supposed to be given attention. So you talked about the frameworks for monitoring utilization. How can we ensure that there is no risk of understating the value of the resource that we are supplying? Normally, the research organization probably will be knowing, but may not necessarily divulge this information up front.
So, thanks for that additional question. Actually, I think that, of course, it's not an easy situation, and it depends, again, on the case. First of all, I think what might be helpful is that there is this obligation, first of all, to have prior, not only prior consent, but prior informed consent, which means that the user should, the user should provide sufficient information also to clarify what does he or she want to use the resource or the traditional knowledge associated with such resource. What's the purpose, first of all, of the utilization? Is it to do pure scientific research, or do they want to develop a commercial product out of it? What is it? So this is an information that needs to be given. This is the aspect of the I in the PIC, the prior informed consent. That's what it means. So based on if such information is given, then I think from the at least in theory, if everything goes well, this will help you to build a better negotiation basis, right? Because you know, or you might have an opportunity to predict: is this a case where, in the end, you know, there will be something valuable coming out, or is this actually is this part of the utilization process? And this, you know, depending on what the information is, you will then decide whether, you know, you ask for more benefits, you ask, you know, the way you grant access also, the way you foresee benefit sharing. You can also see a stepwise approach if there's first pure non-commercial utilization, scientific research, you know, it could be just small benefits, and if then later on there's a commercial product being developed out of this research, you know, your mutually agreed terms, your access agreement, benefit sharing agreement could include or should include actually a clause which then says, okay, in that case, you know, further benefits need to flow. And then it's of course a question of bargaining, negotiating, what is the user, you know, ready to pay or to provide as benefits, and what would the community or the provider be satisfied with. That's basically it. So yes, if there are, there's one more question, then we need to break for coffee, because otherwise there's no cookies.
No cookies here. I'm a bit late actually, I was not here. I'm Krishna Oli. I'm participating from International Center for Integrated Mountain Development based in Kathmandu. I'm also a student of this ABS thing for the last 7 years now. So it's very interesting actually the way the exercise going here. Unfortunately I missed it, but I think it has given some very good thoughts. One or two things, you know, my experience actually, our institutional experience, I would like to share if allowed. Yeah. So one very interesting thing which we found, we are working with the transboundary areas, and the point which you have also raised and many others also earlier raised, is knowledge is in one place, biodiversity resources are another place. That is one thing. And how to actually get benefit out of that knowledge and genetic resources is a concern and is a question, I think, and national legislative measures and I think mechanism when we are evolving or developing. For example, in the whole of Hindu-Himalaya region, I think the effective legislation now is with India, and Pakistan is also developing, and other countries are also developing, and even China is also doing that. So that is the point where I think we should start. And your point actually on arbitration, basically, you know, when genetic resources are taken from one country to another country, and maybe they don't respect the law. That is the case that you are raising, and which is valid also. And in that sense, again, the national legislation should be the most important. If someone does not comply with that legislative framework, then I think there are other mechanisms that needs to be done. Most important aspect here is, you know, the missing thing. You know, many times we are confused. The drafter, even law drafting, I was also involved in drafting. And also in Bhutan and others. So biological resources and genetic resources, these two things actually are, and as Andrea clearly said, a complexity. Because when we talk about commodity trade, we have industrial law, we have trade law in many countries. So these genetic resources or biological resources are freely traded at one point. As Andreas rightly said, these furnitures, these doors, of course they are there, but who will actually apply? Or again, second time if they are going to buy prospect from this door? I don't think it happens actually. That is the big question. How it will happen in future? That is the big question in the community, and many seed species are also going. And as you said, pure scientific research. Basically, there is no such thing as scientific, pure scientific. It ends up with commerce eventually. So I don't know how the research are done by the commercial companies now, more than the institution, the government public institution. So their main objective actually is the commercial objective actually. So there also I think when we are drafting the national legislation, these are some of my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot for these further comments, and I would suggest that we quickly break for lunch, otherwise the coffee. Not lunch, coffee. I don't drink coffee. So, shall we say in like 15 minutes, we're back. Thank you.